there's one condition that we see among babies that's really controversial and also just so frustrating, it would be colic. We see a lot of patients that struggle with this, and there is a common theme that we hear all of the time. Moms will go to their pediatrician and say, my baby is crying all the time, they're uncomfortable, they're arching their back, they are having severe reflux, I can't lay them down, they won't go on their tummy, they're just so unhappy. And the pediatrician will often just say, oh, they'll grow out of it. You know, it's just something that some babies have and others don't, and it will be over before you know it. But it is something that, as a mom, it is so hard to see your baby in pain or struggling, and it's so hard to not have answers. Of course, we want to help our kids, and so when we don't have an answer for something, or we're not given any guidance, we're not given any hope, it can really hurt even our mental health. And so we see so many moms whose babies have colic, and then in turn, mom will start struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety because they are just so upset that they can't help their own child. And so whenever we see parents that come in and they just seem to be at their last, having their last wit's end about them, they just feel so broken and they don't know what else to do. Sometimes we're the last hope, we're the last alternative, and that's okay. But when parents get here, they are just looking for answers. And it's something that thankfully we have kind of found the answer to why babies even get colic. What is happening and why is it happening to your child? So when we do all of our case histories, we see a really common theme. And that common theme is going to be stress. So of all of the colic babies that we see, we will either notice a pattern of a high stress pregnancy or a high risk pregnancy, or a very stressful labor that included birth interventions, whether that was C-section, forceps, vacuum, some manual assistance, even things like induction or epidurals can kind of cause this stress response for baby. And then both of those things lead baby to be stuck in a state of fight or flight. And so our body is supposed to be able to have fight or flight, but also do things like resting and digesting and healing and growing. And so when we start life with a really high stress event or a high stress labor, high stress pregnancy, a lot of interventions, we are programming our baby's brains to be in a fight or flight, a stressful state, preparing for running from whatever the stress is. And so babies are arched, their blood is just pumping to their muscles, they're tight, they're rigid, they aren't able to do things like resting, like sleeping and digesting and pooping, and all of these things that should just be natural for babies, they just can't do because their body is in such a state of stress. And so when we see these babies, moms often very upset or crying and telling us that they're just giving up, they don't know if anything can help. And so it's really amazing to see the turnaround when mom brings baby back in and, starts to report some good changes. They could sleep in the car seat, they slept in the car, they were able to do tummy time. They're able to do things and be happy. All a mom wants to see is that her baby is happy. And so one of the underlying issues is that nervous system. So when a baby has colic, people often think, oh, I should eliminate dairy. And these poor moms have, tried to do so much for their kids, and they come in saying, I've already done this, and I've tried the Mylicon drops, I've tried this, and I cut out dairy, and I cut out XYZ, and I'm not having any caffeine, and I'm so tired. And while some of those things can happen, and depending on the baby will help, it just really also comes down to what is even the root cause of that. And so a lot of it is stress and tension. And so when we have tension, our little bellies can't do things like digestion. If we're already having an issue there, dairy might be an add-on that's really pushing us over the edge. Another big thing we hear and talk about so much is lip and tongue ties. And so those tethered oral ties can cause tension in the body because they are ties within the mouth, tissues that connect our mouth all the way down to our toes. And so you can imagine if we're really tight and stuck in our mouth and our oral cavity, that tension, those tissues are so tight, they're kind of anchoring us back. And so we'll see babies that are just wanting to extend at all times. Those tissues are really pulling them all the way down to their feet. And so we can do things like revisions and, refer you to a pediatric dentist who specializes in that and airway obstruction and all of the really healthy oral cavity important things for our kids. But at the end of the day, it's that also fixing the rest of the tension that's, left behind. We really need to figure out why is there tension in the body? Why is that nervous system programmed on? And then, of course, how do we turn it off? How do we get that body to a state of resting and digesting? And the answer for that is chiropractic care. Being able to release that tension, unwind their body, their little tissues, their muscles that just want to be happy and relaxed and grow, that is what we do at our office. So at Pinnacle Chiropractic, we use insight scans to really see how a baby is doing in terms of stress and inflammation. And so then we can kind of know where to pinpoint our adjustments, how we're helping them. Everything is super gentle. Fingertip pressure, the amount of pressure you would push on your eyelid is how much we use to adjust a little baby. But it's really amazing to see them go from these really serious colic cases where mom is so stressed out and dad is at a loss and there's just no answers and no hope, to those parents coming in saying baby Raina or baby Emerson is just thriving, so happy. Everyone can't believe what a baby it is. They're able to do so much stuff and actually enjoy parenthood. And so for a lot of first-time parents, they feel like this is like, what happened? What did they get into? They're not even enjoying their parenthood because it's so stressful. So as you know, seeing these scans, seeing a pediatric chiropractor is really important, but can really help give parents back that joy and energy. So if your baby is struggling with reflux, colic, crying, just being unhappy and tight and stressed, looking for a pediatric chiropractor would be the smartest thing and the next best step for you to help your baby live a happy, healthy life.